What's going on, everybody? Josh Callaway here with AllSooners, and alongside by John Hoover, Ryan Chapman, back at the stadium, getting ready for Week 2, Oklahoma and Kent State on Saturday night here in Norman, the second game of the Brent Venables era. He had his second weekly press conference as the head coach of Oklahoma today, after we heard from Jeff Lebby and Ted Roof in players last night. Big conversation coming out of that first game we talked about in our post-game podcast. It's been talked about a lot, is the tempo of Lebby's offense. It was a common theme throughout the spring, and obviously coming into the start of the season. It was on full display in Week 1. Time possession was heavily in favor of UTEP. Didn't really matter, but the question has been, is that sustainable over the course of a full season? Clearly, right now at least, Oklahoma not worried.
Yeah, Oklahoma's game notes package right there on the front page is one of the main little breakout items. Sooners are second in the nation in fewest amount of time of possession in the country so far this season. So you think Brent Venables is worried about that? No, he said basically it's an excuse to get the ball back quicker to the offense. They're not worried about the defense being overstressed or overtaxed, or even in the heat that we had here Saturday. It's just a matter of playing fast on offense, playing fast on defense. Both Jeff Lebby and Ted Roof talked about it yesterday. It's not an issue. Lebby did say, yes, I recognized as a play caller that I had to dial it back a little bit. He said he didn't hear from the head coach. He didn't get an elbow from Ted Roof, the defensive coordinator up there in the coaching booth. He recognized at one point, okay, this game flow is not what I want. So he dialed it back a little bit. Their next 3 or 4 possessions included drives of 4 minutes and 5.5 minutes, 240. So they figured it out a little bit, how to keep the ball, get the defense a little more Gatorade, a little more time off their feet. Venables, he's fearless with this thing. I just love his attitude. He's like, yeah, whatever. If we can score more points, score faster. He was the guy, remember, in 2008 who told Kevin Wilson and Bob Stoops, yeah, it doesn't bother me. Yeah. Run tempo. Run as much tempo as you want. We'll just get the ball back. We'll get out there on defense. We'll play harder. It did get them a little bit that season. You guys will remember they scored NCAA record 700 and whatever it was, 16 points. But that defense, which had a lot of stars on it, was absolutely taxed. So I think he's learned his lessons over the years. Basically, he's going at it with the mindset of if we have better players, tempo shouldn't bother us.
Yeah, so you heard a similar sentiment yesterday from Ted Roof, too, saying, hey, we play defense when they tell us to, and we'll get the stops. We'll worry about it. So if the offense is scoring points, we're fine with it. Brent Venables made that joke today. It's like, am I going to complain about 21 points in 6 minutes? No, that'd be ridiculous. I'm going to take it, and we'll figure it out on the other side. Now, another big thing that came out of the first game was a willingness to play freshmen, and they made an impact. Brent Venables expressed that today, Ryan, that, these young guys, we're going to throw them out there and see what they got.
Yeah, absolutely. 10 true freshmen got into the game on Saturday. The ones that have kind of been highlighted, Gavin Freeman, obviously, with the big play, Javonte Barnes, R. Mason Thomas, those guys have been asked about a ton. But Brent Venables talked about how he was really excited that they actually got that opportunity. How many times have we heard it from Brent Venables? They want to be a developmental program here in Norman. Well, he's like, guess what? Where does that start? Getting actual game reps, getting snaps, all that stuff, and that started on Saturday for a lot of those guys too. And an interesting note, he was talking about Gavin Freeman and his ability to maybe even be a punt returner, things like that. And he talked about going to DeMarco Murray, who's working with punt returns, and saying, if you believe he can do it, throw him out there. He threw out, what's the worst that'll happen? He muffs the punt. We're going to get a stop, force a field goal, and go back the other way anyway. But he talked about wanting to instill that confidence in those young guys, because he said that's something they can feel if you're coaching conservative, if you're coaching nervous with them, they become nervous. He wants those guys to be able to play free, play loose, and get all that experience so they can kind of start that clock as far as becoming those fifth-year seniors, or just fourth-year seniors, true seniors that can be impact players. That's something that's big to Brent Venables for the development side of things. And Oklahoma got off on the right foot Saturday.
Gavin Freeman also drew some comparisons to Adrian Peterson. Brent Venables saying, you guys get back. Here comes Adrian. Boom, 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 boom. He called him quick twitch and all that stuff. It was cool. It was a cool moment in the press conference. Check it out.
Yeah, and what a concept, too, of these young guys are getting in the game, they're playing, and we got to talk to them. Gavin Freeman after the game on Saturday and Javonte Barnes last night. Yep. That's obviously something that didn't happen at all in the previous regime, so pretty nice change of pace there. Now, obviously a big conversation and a big narrative just in general in college football is Week 1 to Week 2. That's when you make a big jump. Brent Venables said, well, I've never been head coach before, but I could see it, as being a possibility.
Yeah, he joked about it. Don't ask me. I don't know. I've never been head coach before. I've only coached one game. But the fact of the matter is you make your biggest improvements from Week 1 to Week 2. He blamed a little bit about it for slow starts on Week 1 games, just in general, on coaches overthinking things in training camp, trying to put too much in, trying to put too much on the players. you dial that stuff back when the season gets here. You've only got 6 days till the next game, so that's one thing. He said guys can get a little nervous, maybe jitters, first-time jitters. You want to see as a coach who some of those guys are that have this ability to make plays under the lights, under the bright lights. He said. So there's a lot of reasons why you make those improvements. Week 2, you're more settled in, you're more used to your environment. You've got young guys who now know what's at stake and how important it is and what they need to do. So I thought that was a cool conversation too. You know, Brent just basically going at it again from a fearless standpoint. Like, yeah, we'll make the improvements. He says he wants to see. He wants to see finishing. He wants to see guys finish better, and he wants to see cleaner improvement across the offensive line, run game and pass game. And then he just started saying a little bit here and a little bit there. He just kind of started pointing at various areas that happened during the game. He said you had you give them a free first down they get a field goal out of it, and you keep a drive alive, and just little times in the game that add up at the end on the scoreboard. He wants to see cleaner all the way around.
Yeah, makes sense, and obviously a big reason to think there could be a big jump week 1 to week 2. Oklahoma's getting a little healthier, it sounds like. A couple of guys who are expected to be a big part of this team might be on the way back. Daniel Parker, who missed the first game, Brent said he was out with sniffles. He had the sniffles. I don't know what that means. He tweeted, I believe, during the press conference, sniffles can't keep me down, so he'll be back. It sounds like, and Wanye Morris, who's supposed to be starting right tackle, Brent Venables has been kind of vague on that, but he said they're still working through his situation. Expect him back sooner rather than later. Wasn't really committal if he'll play this week or not. But obviously, Ryan, if they were to get these guys back, big deal. These are 2 guys who are supposed to be a big part of this team.
Yeah, Daniel Parker's the one that I think we were all kind of bummed just to not see what that looked like last Saturday.
Yeah.
John Finley talked about him basically having an advent calendar of days counting down until he could put pads on and hit the defense. So that's the kind of physicality we'd like to see put on display out here, just as for us. That stuff's fun. So Braden Willis and Daniel Parker are already on Twitter joking about putting money on how many guys, which one of them is going to have more pancakes. So it sounds like Daniel Parker's a go.
Great.
Don't expect Wanye Morris based off of kind of what we've heard and then what Brent Venables said. He was very non-committal on Wanye Morris playing Saturday against Kent State, but he's still practicing. Brent Venables said that both after the game against UTEP when Hoover asked about him and again today. And then he also said he's a guy that he's still practicing, and they expect him, once he's available, ready to rock and roll, he'll be right back in that starting lineup. He just basically said the nature of the off-the-field issues he's working through, you treat those kind of on a case-by-case basis. So it sounds like if he's still practicing and they expect him to immediately be a starter, not have to start at the bottom, work his way back up, not the most major thing, it sounds like, as far as guys missing some time.
Yeah, well, it'd be nice to get them back because I have a bug fly in my ear, directly in my ears, buzzing that whole time. Kept a straight face. Oklahoma, Kent State coming up this weekend here at the stadium behind us. We'll have all the coverage all week long on AllSooners.com leading up to this ball game. And, of course, from here in Norman, boots on the ground, Saturday night, Oklahoma and the Kent State Golden Flashes on Saturday. So, for Ryan Chapman and John Hoover, it's buzzing you too.
And the bug.
I'm Josh Callaway, signing off for now. We'll catch you later the rest of this week on AllSooners. And, of course, Saturday back here for Oklahoma and Kent State in week 2. This bug, man.